Hey guys, this is Cody Jones with Jangus Genetics LLC, and just wanted to show you real quick. This is my Broomsedge field. This is a 150-acre farm roughly, and there's about 10 acres of solid Broomsedge right here. And I was listening to something Joel Salatin said the other day. He said when you go in and you start running a regenerative operation on the land, a lot of times you'll see more of this Broomsedge. And I've been following along, listening to different people and just kind of doing my own observations for the last few years because I know that this is a pretty heavy Broomsedge spot. And it seems to me like it's actually a really great feed in July. It's a warm season grass, and this is a predominantly cool season fescue type pasture. And so when I was a kid, we used to run on this farm, and even in high school, I'd come through here and you'd see maybe like 4 to 5% of this Broomsedge when you were feeding in here in the wintertime. You would see it was in here. But what happens, and Salatin explained it very well, he said when you go in with a regenerative and you rest that, you're pulling those cattle off and you're rotating them around and you're giving that land rest. And so this Broomsedge has always been here. But when you rest it, it comes on. Back in July and August when those cattle had full access to this was the only thing that was green and growing predominantly in July and August. And so the cattle were coming in here and just hammering this because it's actually really nutritious, delicious. And I've heard other people talk about that in, when I'm going around doing pasture walks and different things. I've heard people say, everybody hates on Broomsedge, but it's the only thing I've got in July and August and my cattle love it. And I kind of see that. I see that here. So since we're rotating these cattle through, maybe I'll try to hammer this a little harder in July and August, but it's interesting to me. So we had a wet year this year, and so we had pretty decent grass growth. We've been coming out of a 2-year drought, and what I've been doing every year is I've been spreading hay on this. So we've got our Ford Escape pulling the Greg Judy bale unroller, and I bale grazed this. I unrolled hay on this last year when I got my Greg Judy bale unroller. I've got an unroller on the back of my tractor that I try to do. So this is actually getting to be relatively a fairly fertile piece of soil compared to what it used to be. And so that's why I think we're seeing so much more of the quantity of Broomsedge here. I think it's just doing a good job at growing, but it's kind of interesting. And you could see the green spots in here. So trying to see from just my experience here, just knowing where I've unrolled and bale grazed, you can see the green spots in between. Like last year up here, there's some weeds and a brown spot. That's where I left a bale of hay, did some bale grazing. Bale grazing, after 2 years, you won't really notice the weeds, but you will see the fertility difference. So I like the bale graze. It saves a lot of time. But the other thing about unrolling a bale of hay, and the reason that I love this Greg Judy bale unroller, I have enough grass here that the cattle will actually be able to supplement their own diet, and they're going to be okay. But I don't have enough that it's breeding season, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking good care of them. And I feel like if I'm giving them a little bit now, I'm going to have to feed some hay, so I might as well give some throughout instead of just saving it all until March. And that way, they're balancing their diet. They're not getting an extreme shock when we're coming to March and they're just going on hay. So on this farm, I am feeding some hay, keeping the cattle comfortable. Through Christmas, I'll probably just set out a bunch of bales. That way I don't have to worry about it. We got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of family events, so we're blessed to have all those things and don't want to stress the wife out. So, putting out a little extra hay, it's pretty cheap insurance for me. Then I just check the water and roll on. Don't have to worry about them, rotating them and those other kinds of things. When we think about this regenerative style of farming and ranching, remembering the holistic view, that's part of that is the people. We have to take care of the people. And, I would do that for an employee or something, just to help them out through the weekend or through the holiday. Why not do it for me too? So I'm an employee of my business. So, trying to make things easier and more simplified for family so that we get a little time off and to do those kinds of things. We still have to check water and make sure we should be done calving, but, just putting an eyeball on the young stock and those kinds of things. It's good peace of mind. But we can do it a whole lot faster if we're not out here dragging around a bale unroller or driving a tractor. So the other thing about this bale unroller is you can see on a regular round bale, we run 4x5 round bales. And if you're just putting out a regular round bale, you can fit 8 cows around that round bale. Now I unrolled this with the hay, so it actually does about half to a third of the distance of what it would be if I was going to flip that around and run it backwards. I know the guys that sell this, and I think Greg Judy, they run them backwards, so they spread it out even more. For me, these cows are going to clean this up. There's enough cows here, and this grass is not anything extraordinary right now. So they're going to clean this up pretty good. I'm not too worried about it. But you can also see that their manure patties are all facing out. What happens when I'm bale grazing, I notice this a lot, especially when it's cold, that the cows will go up there and they're going to lay on top of that hay through the night. So if they don't clean it up during the day, they're going to lay on top of those bales, as many as can get on it, and they'll pile up on there and they're going to poop on it, and then they're not going to want to clean it up as good. So they clean it up a lot better. Instead of feeding 8 cows, we're feeding 40 or 50 cows, and then all their manure is going on the outside. Now if it's real cold and you're you want to insulate those cows from snow and ice, or you're spreading straw or something to insulate those cows from snow and ice, absolutely, they're going to lay on what's left. But it's for me, I don't fertilize right now. I may end up doing some of that in the future, but my hay program is my fertilizer. So if I waste a little bit, it's just going back into the ground's going to absorb that. It's going to save the nutrients, to take the nutrients out of the hay and put it in the ground, and it's going to pay me dividends next year. I'm not too worried about it. Again, if we can roll it out, we'll get use the first year instead of bale grazing. Like I said, this was probably Christmas last year. We put out a bale here, and I could still see, some weed marks, and we didn't grow any grass there. Now, we did grow some weeds, and for sheep, I actually like that method because the sheep will go up there and they'll eat the weeds. But normally what I do, if I have a weedy patch where I've put out a bale, you can see it here, I went ahead and I put my mineral feeder over this while I was grazing this paddock in a wet period, and so they really mash that down, and you won't even be able to see it next year. It'll all be turned into grass, and it should be good. But you can see, I mean, it just, this unrolling thing, it really does. If you have the time, it's nice. If you don't have the time, bale grazing will kick its butt all day long. You can just set out enough feed for 30 days in 4 hours. For my cows, 35, 40 cows with a good 4-wheel drive tractor or 2-wheel drive tractor or skid loader or whatever. I mean, you just set them out, take the wraps off, and then you fence it off as time goes on. It works good, and it saves a lot of time. If you're good with hot wires, it takes you 5 minutes a day, roll it up, let them into the next paddock, or roll it up once a week, or whatever works for you. You can save a lot of time, energy. If you don't have the equipment, bale grazing is definitely a good way to go. Whoever's dropping off your hay, have them set them out there in a dry time. You have to do a little pre-planning for that, but or a frozen time, and it works pretty good. But anyway, I'm gonna get back at it, but just wanted to show you my broomsedge field, or sage grass, or sedge grass, or whatever you call it, and everybody calls it something different, but I'm not worried about it. It's right now it's just going back to feed the earth, to feed the ground. We're gonna unroll hay over it. They're knocking it down. That's gonna feed the microorganisms in the spring. You won't even, when we get done unrolling hay here, you won't even be able to see any of this hardly, maybe 1% to 2%, which was what we were doing before we started rotating. But it's just kind of interesting to me because I have put down a lot of hay in this paddock over the last 6 years, and we still have broomsedge. So it's again, it's not really something I'm worried about, but soil tests, I think, is something I'm interested in doing. But at the same time, I don't know that I'm going to spend the money to do much difference. And when you look down at the ground, I mean, things are probably a little out of balance to be growing this much broomsedge. We always called it poor man's grass, but I know that we're making a big impact because the quantity and the quality of the forage underneath it is improved dramatically. The rotational grazing has done tremendous things. I know we're improving the fertility just because we have so much, quality fescue underneath. And yes, I do like fescue. It's a great winter grass. I would like it to be mixed in with other things, which, broomsedge is another thing. So the diversity is really what we're looking for. But the reality is that we've got the fescue. It's here. It's free. It produces pretty decent tonnage for what it is, and it's a tough grass, and it's an awesome winter feed. So my plan is to work with it for the most part, but hopefully we encourage the warm season natives and the natives to come back with our intensifying our grazing and different things as time goes on. But anyway, we do have broomsedge. I don't think it's a horrible thing, but traditionally people would soil test for this and spend a lot of money trying to fix it. But my dad told me when I took this over, actually 2 years after I took it over, he said, yeah, we did a soil test on that farm once. I wouldn't recommend it. So it's interesting, but the cows are happy. We're supplementing with some hay, and we did grow some good grass this year. We're a little overstocked for what we're doing, but this year hay's cheap, and we kind of knew we were getting into that. Last year on one farm, my goal was to go less than 1 bale per cow. I believe we got pretty close to that, but we're feeding hay on the other farms. Nothing ridiculous. Kind of my goal overall is to eventually feed, less than 1 bale per cow per year, or run the numbers on it and see what's economical. Sometimes it's cheaper to feed hay and sometimes it's not. And I hate to be selling, my main type of stock back and forth, mainly cows, to adjust that. So if you have yearlings and different things, having that, or custom grazing, that flexibility is definitely handy to be able to adjust your stocking rate, especially going into winter. But some years it's more economical to feed hay than others, and depending on what you're doing. But it seems to me like if you can find the land to rent, renting more land is going to be cheaper than feeding hay. But still like to have hay for emergencies. So all that being said, January, February, March, and then April, 4 bales is what I figure on. Sometimes we start having grass, decent grass, April 10th. Sometimes, we can graze through February, or, we can graze deeper into the season, depending on the grass and where we're at. And as our grazing gets better, my plan is to hopefully, be able to increase our cow days per acre and increase the number of grazing days we can get out of each farm. And again, I think that, there might be some potential fertilization that would help with that in the future. But I haven't done a lot of soil testing. Like I said, I've been doing mostly, everything that I've been doing has been fertilizing with hay and cows. So we're always trying to get better, do a little bit better job. But I think there's some potential there to boost our fertility and increase our soil health at the same time. And if you guys have any tips on that, let me know, or have any good YouTube channels or books recommendations. I would love to hear where you guys are going to learn about the regenerative side of increasing your fertility with purchased inputs, and also just making sure that we're keeping the whole in perspective. We need to make more money, but we don't want to hurt the land while we're doing it. So that's my thoughts, my ideas, and I sure appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions or like this video, like, subscribe, follow for more, leave us a comment down below. Thanks.